Today is a normal Sunday in Ghana, and we are on a journey to Pram Pram. So we're trying to complete an episode here called Diasporians Living in Ghana. Today, we are visiting a lady all the way from Detroit, Michigan, and her name is Earna Terefe Kassa. If you are ever traveling in Ghana, the best day to travel and to enjoy and not to have all the madness on the road is Sunday. So if you're a tourist coming to Ghana, I reckon you should be driving on Sundays. We're in Pram Pram town now. We're driving on a road that links us to Ningo. Located less than 1 hour east of Accra, Ghana's capital, and onto the south of the Atlantic Ocean. Pram Pram Township is the largest community in Dangbe West District. The primary occupation is fishing. It has recently become the hub for a lot of foreigners. Well, we are lost, that's all. We are lost. You need to laugh, man. It's reality. Yeah. Viewers, I've been on the road this morning. I told you that I'm coming to a little town called Pram Pram. I don't really know whether I am actually in Pram Pram now or I am in Ningo, because I don't know where the demarcation ends. But we've come to see Earna. I'm just gonna go straight to her and then ask her some few little questions. Madam Earna, yes. The first thing I want to know is, are we in Pram Pram or are we in Ningo?
You're actually in Pram Pram. Ningo is just about a half a mile up. So I'm right at the border of Pram Pram and Ningo. But we are officially still in Pram Pram.
So for how will you mention your full name? What's your full name?
My full name is Earna Williams Terefe Kassa.
You see that Kassa, Kassa. Yes. I thought it was an African sounding name.
Terefe Kassa is an Ethiopian name. I was married to an Ethiopian before, and so.
How long have you been in Ningo, in Pram Pram?
Well, I purchased my land 16 years ago. It was very interesting. I came here in 1999 to visit friends. And on my way going back, I did something that I've never done before. We got on the airplane, and actually before I got on the airplane, inside of the airport, I saw this really tall, good-looking guy. And I thought,
what is it about always these tall-looking guys? What about we the short guys? When was your first time you landed in Africa? I've
been coming to Africa now. Next year in July will be 35 years that I've actually been traveling to and from Africa.
I'll cut you short. Did you guys listen to that? 35 years now, she's been traveling in and out. 35 years now. But okay, let's come back. When was your first time you landed in Africa?
My first time landing in Africa was in July 1981.
July 1981. Yes. Whoa, that's a long time ago. Yes. And which country was that? Was it Ghana? Was it Senegal? Was it Mali? Where was that?
Well, we first landed in Senegal, and it was really quite interesting. I came on a month-long tour to Africa on my first trip, and we actually did go to 5 different countries, but Senegal was the place in which I first put my foot on African soil.
Apart from all the other media propaganda that makes Africa to be a very unpleasant place to come to, what motivated you to come back to Africa and landing in Senegal?
Well, what motivated me was probably many years ago when I was about 9 years old. And my dad bought me a National Geographic home. He had found on the bus his car had broken down, and we lived in Cleveland, and he bought this, Cleveland, Ohio, and he bought this National Geographic home that he found on the bus. I was a really ferocious little reader back in the days. And that book had a story of Africa in it. And at that point, I said to my father that I would like to go to this place one day. And my father, in all of his wisdom, said, even though he only had a ninth grade education, he says, if you get an education, you can always get you a decent job and you can go anywhere you want to go.
ZOH TV #1, ZOH TV the best, ZOH TV repatriation Africans #1.
Got what knowledge I got of Africa, particularly when I was very young, was very antiquated knowledge. What we learned of Africa when I was a child was more or less the Tarzan thing that we saw on television. This white man running through the jungle in Africa, hollering and screaming, and then the Africans that we saw then, which was really a very negative impression. At that time, nobody wanted to be associated, even though we didn't realize, we had totally forgotten that we were African people by then. But that was the negative image that I got.
But then having all this negative image, as a child growing up and still wanting to come to Africa, was it not too hard for you or other people around you thinking, we've been watching all this about Africa and we don't want to go to Africa, and you want to go to Africa? Are you not insane? Is something not wrong with you? Didn't you feel that kind of a pressure where you think that you are being, ostracized from the group because you've decided that you want to go back to the homeland?
Well, not exactly, only because once I started the university and I moved out into my first apartment, the first African that I met was from Ethiopia, but the very second one, who I didn't even know lived in the same apartment building I lived in, were from Ghana. So it was really very interesting, the relationship. There were two brothers, Kwadwo and Nana. My first real African meal that I ate were that of a Ghanaian meal, where they all sat down on the floor together and ate out the same bowl. Now, I must admit, I was a little hesitant about doing that. And
because the Africa was gone out of your body.
Well, no, it's just that I had never sat and ate communal with anyone, and especially using my hands to eat out of the same bowl. So they noticed my being a little uncomfortable with that, and they gave me a spoon in my own bowl.
Senegal. Yes. Senegal to Ghana. Okay. So now we want to get from Senegal to Ghana now.
Okay. All right. We're going to get from Senegal to Ghana. Remember, though, I went to 5 countries on my first visit. So, as I said, in 1999, I was visiting and was ready to leave when I saw the tall, dark, handsome guy. And I just thought, wow, he's so fine. I wonder, where is he from? He must be from Nigeria or somewhere. At any rate, when I got on the plane, who should be sitting next to me but him? What was interesting, I did something that I'd never done before. Usually I get on the plane and sleep all the way from Africa all the way back to the States because I don't want to be dealing with jet lag. But we talked from the time I sat down until we landed in New York. And I was telling him about my desire to move to Africa one day. And he said, well, why don't you move to Ghana? But at that time, I was thinking about moving to the Ivory Coast, but they were having a civil disturbance.
Did you ever speak French? Because you keep mentioning Senegal, Ivory Coast, and stuff like that. Did you speak French?
Oui, je parle un peu.
Moi, je parle français un peu, un peu.
Mais ça c'est bien.
Je suis champ de fait ta connaissance. I used to study French before, but I can't speak French anymore. But if you guys listen, my French is not perfect, man. Don't try to interpret me.
Like I said, I came here, met the Ghanaian, we talked about it. I said to him, well, if you can find me a piece of land by the ocean, then I'll move to Ghana. All right. I was just joking with him.
You're just joking. Yeah. But some jokes, it becomes a reality.
Absolutely. And about 3 months later, he called me. And by the way, he's still in America. And he said, Earna, I found some land by the ocean.
No friend ko here ZOH TV number 1.
I could make a connection somehow, a spiritual connection with the ocean. I stood there, and as I prayed, I began. There's an old song by the OJs that's called Ship Ahoy. And in that song, it talks about how the ships that came here and took our relatives away from here by the ocean. And so as I stood there praying at the ocean, I could hear that song. I could actually visually feel and see my ancestors in the bowels of those ships. And there was a sense of spirituality that just grabbed.
You see, I keep telling people that make it back to Africa, they made it back here because they're supposed to come back.
Absolutely.
If it was not designed like that, you will never make it back here.
Absolutely.
So I'm talking about a story from 1471 in Shama, right down to the year 2015. We're talking over 500 years. The disconnection we are facing today is the fact that because it's over 500 years that they've been colonizing the people in Americas and Brazil and, you know, the whole South America and stuff, they have been busy colonizing us too.
Absolutely.
And this is what have created a big gap between us.
Absolutely.
Because we don't know you, you don't know us.
I think I often say that you have forgotten that we are your cousins.
Yes.
And we have forgotten that each of us are cousins.
Because they broke the bond.
Because of the 500 years that have separated us. Yes. But I also feel that for some strange reason, that some of us had to leave. Some of us had to leave. Yes. I think that there were things that we needed to learn in as much as it was the whole slave trade was as horrific as it was. Yeah. Some of us had to leave here.
Yeah. You guys needed to go and get the transatlantic experience to come back here and refuel us so we can actually wake up and defend ourselves. What have you been doing in Ghana so far? You know, are you still teaching here? Or, you know, people would like to hear because you were teaching in the States before and you come here. Do you teach here or do you do a lot of different things just to, you know, survive here? People would like to know stuff like that, you know?
Well, I wouldn't say that I do a lot of different things here just to survive. I'm among the fortunate ones, I believe, because I spent 34 years with the Detroit Public Schools, so I'm blessed to have a pension, so I don't have to. And then I prepared myself prior to coming. Yes. Well, I've done numerous things, things that I usually don't sit up and talk about that much, but we've bought back supplies, school supplies for, that we've provided children with school supplies, about 13 or 14 schools. We've also provided medical materials for both in the clinic up in Pram Pram as well as the one that's in Ningo, in New Ningo.
I came to your house last time here and then you had a very beautiful party out there. People were here and it was quite cool, you know, just getting out of Accra from the mash up, the traffic and everything and come to a very serene atmosphere. You have a very beautiful home and I saw a lot of people over here that have come to visit you as well. So do you get guests that come and stay here and you tour them or, you know, I want to know how you've been propagating the gospel of Africa to your own people outside there.
Okay, well, since 1985, I had been bringing tourists to Africa, starting in 1985. So I don't do it as much now, but I do have people that come.
So what are some of your challenges that you go through every day?
Well, one of the things I said is for sure you need to plan before coming here. And you need to be able to support yourself because you're not going to find a job here. So you need to be able to support yourself. And in addition to that, having built my house some 13 years ago was a really huge challenge. You know, trying to communicate and work with people. I find that many people, because of that lack of communication, that bond that we have, I have had a few people that have tried to take advantage of me, will overcharge me rather than what they will charge.
They give you the Obroni price.
Well, I think that the first message I would like to really speak about is for the Ghanaian government and other governments to open up and accept us to come back. There are many of us who are out there who have skills, who would love to be able to come back and help and do whatever we can. As an example, I went to the Ministry of Education and I volunteered my time to work with the Ministry of Education, to working with teachers here, since I know that there have been some teachers here who just finished high school.
Yeah.
And with the experience, I have a master's degree in education, administration, and supervision. Yeah. I wanted to volunteer my time. They didn't have to pay me one penny. Yeah. Even I'd paid to go to Accra myself. Yeah. And I went in and I spoke with the minister. Until this day, I've never heard anything. Hopefully the governments will open up and allow us to come back freely. Allow us to come in and do whatever we can do. We don't come begging. Most of us who come, we can take care of ourselves, most of us. So we want to come back and give something to our continent.
Boom! ZOH TV, out of Ghana, out of Africa, is international.